I wanted to take this video to just share my story. How did I get to become a DP on 2 feature films last year? How did I get to the place that I'm at? Which I'm pretty early on in my career as a cinematographer. So I hope this is encouraging to people who are out there just starting out, trying to figure out how to get jobs. I'm gonna touch on all that. So I started out shooting photos when I was 15. I saved up for a year working at a barbecue restaurant to get my first DSLR. I got that camera, started shooting my friends skateboarding, motocross, wakeboarding, all sorts of stuff like that. From 15 to 18, that's what I was doing in Alabama. Then at 18, I ended up going to Germany and traveling around the world in my early 20s, shooting portraits and landscapes. And during that time, I upgraded my camera to one that had 1080p video. When I was living in China, I thought maybe I'll try making a documentary. I'll just shoot some interviews, some B-roll, and cut it together. And that's what I did. I made a 20-minute documentary about hope, interviewing 7 Chinese people on what they placed their hope in. And it ended up going to a festival and winning some awards. And that gave me some encouragement to keep going with filmmaking. So after that, I moved to Nashville. I started making a bunch of small little portrait videos on different artists living in the city, a painter, a photographer, another painter, and I really loved it, but I didn't know how to make a living doing it. I got my first break. A friend of mine owned a nonprofit, and he started hiring me for a couple $100 to make a video for him. And that's how I got first paid jobs. After that, I moved to St. Louis. I met my wife, Hannah, and moved here, and we got married. And during that first year, I was still doing other things, but in 2017, I felt like I should try to make this my full-time job. And in March 2017, I took a jump. I quit what I was doing, and I went full-time freelance as like a videographer. I was wearing all the hats. I was producing, directing, shooting, editing, like a one-man band with just my GH4 and like one Quasar tube. And that was my 2017. It was tough. I was making videos for rappers, shooting weddings, like doing videos for just a couple $100. I was just grinding. I had to do like 10 videos a month for me and my wife to survive. But through that, I realized I don't like doing this one-man band videographer stuff. Like, I know what I'm good at. Like, I'm good at the visuals. I'm good at the lighting, the camera, lensing. Like, that is what I want to do. I don't want to do the editing. I don't want to do these other things. Now, I still do those things from time to time, but as a focus, I knew, like, I want to be like the director or the director of photography. So going into 2018, I decided to buy a Ursa Mini Pro and create a new reel. I already had a website. I've had a website since I was like 16 or 17 on my photography, and then it moved into video. But I always refreshed it. I always, made a new reel every year. And my 2018 January, I decided I'm gonna just look up all these different ad agencies, production companies, and I'm gonna cold email them. Out of the 30 emails that I made, 9 people got back to me. Out of the 9 people who got back to me, 5 of them I had face-to-face meetings, and out of the 5 face-to-face meetings, 1 of them I got a job, but it was like 8 months later. So 2018 was the first year where I started transitioning. I was still shooting weddings, I was still doing some smaller stuff, but my day rate was like doubled what it was the year before, and I was starting to get bigger work. By the end of 2018, I want to share one story with you, and this will kind of show you how these connections are made and how you get work, because that's one of the questions that I want to answer in this video. How are you making more connections? This is a good example. In 2017, when I was just grinding one-man band stuff like I shared with the GH4, I shot this one video. It was like all night. We drove through the night. We shot from like before sunrise throughout the whole day. It was like an over 12-hour long shoot, and I got paid like $100. It was for a friend. That friend ended up moving to New York City, getting hired at an ad agency, One of his clients was Netflix, and he was in charge of creating promotional visuals for different shows. Queer Eye season 4, I think, was coming to Quincy, Illinois. He was looking for a DP in this area and hit me up after I hadn't heard from him for like 2 years. That's how you get those connections. So I got to be the behind the scenes cinematographer for Queer Eye, and it was a great paying job, and it came from a $100 music video like 2 years before. So that just goes to show, you know, take whatever job you can in the beginning. Hopefully, you know, that connection will come back and be, you know, profitable later on. In 2019, I was offered a full-time position as a filmmaker at a local mega church. I took the job because they were willing to work with me on my schedule and allow me to keep freelancing, but it was like full-time pay and benefits, and I was having my first kid, and it was definitely a struggle. Like, I love the freelance life, and I was worried that this job was gonna hold me back. I also felt like, am I taking a step back from like the progression I had made by taking a job at a church? Because a lot of people start in a church and then, you know, move out of that. But I took it, and then COVID-19 hit in 2020, and I was so thankful that I had that job for the 2.5 years that I did. That leads us up to 2021. I left that job, went back to full-time freelance, and in 2022 was an amazing year, getting to shoot those 2 feature films, shoot 2 short films here in America, and that's basically my story in a nutshell leading up to here. I would encourage you, if you're struggling to figure out how you're going to maybe get to where I'm at, I'm, you know, still wanting to get where other DPs are at. And if you're just trying to figure that out, I would say the main things are meet with people in your city, make a reel every year, try to just keep fresh, keep pursuing passion projects. Like, if you can't find a director to shoot projects for, you're gonna have to do it yourself. Like, that's what I did. I started writing and directing because I wanted to shoot projects. Just keep putting stuff on your website, and if you have good work, you're bound to get paid for it at some point. So I hope this inspires you to get out there and just become a better filmmaker.